Live and we are live. So hello world. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Very excited to have you back. My name is Monica Kang, founder and CEO of InnovatorsBox and your host at Creativity is in Business. I have a special guest here and a dear friend of mine, Towanna. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, Monica. So good to see you.
So good to see you again. And today is April 30, 2020. Frankly, when I first started this Towanna a few weeks ago, and I don't know if you remember my first email, I was saying that, hey, I know this is further out, but I still feel like, unfortunately, we might be in this situation where I will continue this and hopefully we'll have this conversation. And I just wanted to say, in a crazy way, this has been such a timely moment where we can talk about and reflect a little bit more about the importance of coaching. And so glad to have you. And Towanna, I believe you're in Washington, D.C., right?
Yeah, I am. That's home for me.
And I love the beautiful views. I think it's reflection. If I might also mention, is that pen mentioning to the program that you're in the process of completing right now?
Yes, yep. I'm in the graduate school. Yes, and I'm the School of Education. So, getting that doctorate in education, it's been a nice journey. It's been interesting, Monica.
And remind me again of the topic that you were working on.
Oh, for my dissertation? Oh, it's a comparative study of face-to-face coaching versus computer-based technology coaching, or what we call e-coaching, to find out if there are variances between the two and how people are receptive on the side of the coach, how receptive they are. So it's going to be interesting because, technology is becoming the new king. So we have to be able to adapt, and we're studying the transition.
Love that. Love that. And you're going to find out quickly why this topic in itself, even in our background, makes the play role. And so I went ahead and kind of dove into kind of a catch-up conversation because Towanna is many hats in many things. First, I hope you're already seeing from the hint of how wonderful she is as a person, which is a reflection of all the guests we have. But currently, she's the founder and president of CoachDiversity Institute, which is how we met, which she started 5 years ago. And through that, she's been empowering many coaches rethinking about what it means to be aware more with diversity, be a better coach, be more inclusive through the process, but also bringing that uniquely, which I love about, is bringing her background in data and technology, and also just thinking about processes and how she got into this whole world. So actually, before we even get started, Towanna, would you mind if you can share a little bit more why coaching is actually so important for you, and how did you come to care, especially when I know you started with a very different background?
That's right. So it's interesting because professionally, as I navigated through my career, the higher I rose in corporate America and or the federal government, the further I got away from, from the actual technology itself. And I fell in love with professional development. And I've always mentored. I've always looked for hidden talent in the organization. And so I discovered coaching because I realized that mentoring had another level, the deeper meaning, and there was a way to help support that next generation, and the coaching skill set help with that. So the journey to coaching, because I love professional development, and it became the new hot thing, over 20 years ago, it was increasing in popularity, and my clients were asking me, do you know about this coaching thing? We want some coaches. Can you help us with that? And my research began, and I said, well, you know what? I need to learn how to coach. Let me figure it out. I took a class and it changed my life, Monica. And when it's taught the right way, it's transformational and it will change your life and how you view the world. And so I integrated that with the professional development services that I was offering my clients. And it's been life-changing, not only for me and my family, but also for the clients that I serve.
Absolutely. And as you can see from the buzzing of the phone, Towanna is in high demand. And, super grateful to have you here to tie into the coaching and, really reframing that. And I think it means a lot that it comes from your personal journey and you recognizing that, hey, guys, I am a leader and and I really needed it and I found value. And I think that's a reflection because I think often there's a dismissiveness. It's like, no, we have a lot of coaches, we don't need it. And so I think it means a lot for you to be coming from your personal experience. But that being said about professional learning, we also love to learn the people who we bring to the show. And we don't know you, or at least I do, but the guests don't. So for them to get to know you, we're going to dig into Spark cards. As you all know, these are some of the card games that we have. So Towanna, I'm going to ask for you if you can help pick a color of your choice and a number, and then I'll pull out a card that we'll dig into.
My favorite color, green.
Green. And then number?
7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is one of the curiosity cards, and how timely, because the question is, when was the last time you felt curious and why?
The last time I felt curious, I tell you, I am head down in my dissertation. So curiosity is all I'm doing right now. I'm deep into research. So the last time I was curious was wanting to know how coaches were going to adapt with the new shift in technology. And it is the most powerful learning experience for me because I am thinking about the next business opportunity because of it.
Are there some findings that you could share to the audience, or is it top secret right now?
It's still very secret right now, but I can tell you the one thing that I've noticed is who knew that we would be pushing so much digital at this point in time of our worlds, right? So because of that, it's forcing people who may not have been interested or considered it, is pushing them to be more adaptable. And this forced adaptivity, right? So my research started way before this point, but here we are. And I wonder if I sent the survey out again, what would happen, right? So I don't want to go backwards. I want to keep going forward, but that would definitely impact.
I think it'll be fascinating because going back to what you said, one thing that is clear, especially even for our show and conversation, is just how little we know of what is to become.
Yes.
And, we always make decisions. We always want to do our best in what we can do, especially as leaders and innovators out there. I mean, you're always on the spot doing all these things. I mean, hey, all the type A's out there, shout out to you. We're always trying to figure out how to solve. And that's the other reason why Towanna and I connected, because they're like problem solvers. We like to ideate. I remember when I was in, shout out to the program, because that's actually how I met, because I did the program. I was in the first cohort, loved it. A lot of the questioning skills that you're seeing from me, and thank you, shout out for the comments, is actually learned all from Towanna and the wonderful team, and honing my skills as well. So just want to share that because it's true. But tying to that, I thought it was so timely in how you shared it, because all of that, as we said, is going to be so timely now. And thinking about what it means to be a good leader, a good innovator. And it's timely how this ties to some of the other conversation we had. Last week, we had a guest where we spoke about, how do we make sure we be a better problem solver by not rushing and jumping to conclusions? We also thought about, what does it mean to understand, how to understand motivations, like what it means when one decision has ripple effect. But I mean, we're going to go into a whole deeper role to that, because that's all the things you think about when you coach and mentor all these leaders. And so I'm just genuinely curious. Let's start with a big umbrella. What does good leadership even mean for you? Like, how can coaching really help? And tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Monica, because, so often we forget that what I think about coaching is directly aligned to my values. I mean, not coaching, leadership. So when I think about leadership, of course, you can roll off the top 20, 25, 30. So easy. Clear vision, honesty, are they approachable, organization, knowledgeable, right? So those are the ones that jump right out of your mouth. And then you start realizing, like, wait a minute, how much of that is really about me and less about the leader that is in front of me, the one that's actually in the office leading me day to day. And so where does conflict come in? Because our values are not in alignment. So when I consider leadership, I think about my core values, what I admire, but then I get frustrated, or used to get frustrated as a professional, and a lot of my clients do, when that leader is not aligned with that. And so we just have so much disconnect, right? And we bump heads because, well, if we're not in alignment, then that means that whatever you're doing that doesn't align with me is going to frustrate me. It's not going to bring out the best skills and talents that I have. It's going to be a point where I'm going to feel like we aren't a good fit, and you'll never get the best innovation and creative from me, right? And so that's the important part. And then when you think about the clients that I serve, the ones I coach and the students I teach, I always want them to look at how coaching can help you as a leader and your previous state or your current state. And the big question is, how can my leadership evolve from where it is today to a desired state? So let's say you are a leader in an organization and you are not feeling connected to the people you lead. So we know that you can start with values and say, okay, there's a lot misalignment in the values, but then you turn around and you ask yourself, now that I know that I'm not connecting, I need to want to do something about it, right? So then that means I need to find out what is the disconnect, and then I have to have a desired state to be coached to. So that's when coaches help leaders connect those dots so that you can find out, this is who I am today, but what's my desired state as a leader so I can improve my relationships with my team.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope you are taking notes. So many gems right there. A couple of things to kind of break that apart. Also, to add to that is, I would say also even listening, being able to relate. And then right now, I think we're seeing more leaders where that mismatch is. And I think that visibility is making it even hard. And I love that insight into recognizing that how often are we taking the time to really then self-reflect? And so I wanted to kind of piggyback on that. Notice, I admit, I think as somebody who always thought I was reflecting a lot, I think going through the training really got me thinking more deeply, and understanding the whole coaching process helped me understand, wow, so I can go even deeper. For somebody out there, it's like, I think I kind of know where to start, but like, what would be a question that you would throw out there and like, aha, this is what will help you get deeper to reflect and actually get to know where your gap is, and understanding what would that question be?
Right. So there's so many questions, Monica. Let's see, one of the questions that you could ask a leader, you ask yourself for the self-reflection, or okay, so ask myself as a leader so that I can go deeper. I think I said a little bit a minute ago about my desire to meet the needs of the team that I'm serving, right? And so the self-reflection is, we receive 360 feedback or some type of feedback. And the question is to yourself, how important is it to you to adjust once you receive that feedback? And then now that you have the feedback, what is it that you want to do differently so that you can improve your relationships? Like, what do you want to do differently? Because there has to be buy-in, there has to be agreement. So I can read it and say, okay, but that has nothing to do with sales, the bottom line, my productivity, my team, my sector is doing fantastic. We're the best in the company. However, you're terrible as a leader, right? They're producing for you, but they don't like you. Does it matter to you that they don't like you, right? So there's certain things that you have to connect. And so do you want to do something about that? And what is it that you want to do differently?
Is that kind of the reason why you emphasize also that diversity plays a role? Because if you're seeking that feedback and understanding, but you're only talking to one demographic or one type of people, you might not actually getting an actual 360 degree. You're actually getting a 1 degree.
Yes, I want to jump out of my seat. Exactly, Monica. Because here, look at this. When it comes to diversity, we often say workplace diversity is often seen for something that we have to do, right? We have to, because we say, okay, it's something that everyone is saying, it's trending, it's been around forever. So it's about more inclusion than diversity now. So we play this game, but we have to do it. No, being a leader in an organization, it's less about have to do and more about want to do or need to do. Need assessment means how does it measure up to the bottom line so that the company is more profitable, right? And so in your desire to do it and your need to do it, there's a connection there, right? So if you change the language and realize that when you are being a champion and as a leader and you're going deeper in diversity, is because you want it and you need it for the bottom line, but you want it and you need it because you care about the people that are creating and innovating for you so that the company continues to win.
I love that. And I hope all of you heard is the difference of word choice defining even the intention,
Yes.
which is so powerful. And I think of a quick analogy, I think, because, I admit, I think even as somebody who loves and promotes that, sometimes it could be a bit of a jargon, and it kind of gets watered down. And so I like to always make an analogy to something completely different. So I was thinking of exercise as an example. There's a clear difference of how I am more productive with my exercise when I want it versus when I have to do it. I can tell you about that. When am I stress eating? When I want to not stress eat and when I have to not stress eat, it's very different reactions. And I think hope that gives a little click in the button in how you reframe our thinking, because that's the same thing about, we talk about creativity, and the diversity is important because you wanting to know how it shows up to a meeting space, to a team where your crazy ideas are being appreciated, that you can talk out loud and then still be like pat in the back, like that was crazy, but that's cool. Like, we're going to be back in this conversation. That feels so much different than just like, oh, I have to honor everyone's opinion. I have to like be okay with disagreeing. I'm curious to hear your additional thoughts. Like, what's a fine line for leaders and innovators who are like, I kind of struggle between the two, but I don't know how to get to the want stage? Like, what's something they can do?
Yeah. So, a lot of times people view the initiatives, the actions for diversity, equity, and inclusion, again, reframing it to want to and need to. They sometimes don't understand that when you are a champion in diversity, that you can feel it organizationally. So, or within your team. So that means you are being understood clearly on what your goals are. It's understood and it's believable. People, it's almost like the culture shift can be felt and understood, right? And so throughout the company, if it's a top down and the leader has not been clear on what they want and need to happen, then you won't feel it. It's going to be like, it's just another thing we're doing. It's the theme of the day, this theme of the year. But when you're intentional and you are serious, you can feel it organizationally. And I think that's the difference. And so the question that you have to ask yourself as a leader is, am I connecting, and are they feeling it and believing what I say is what I want and need?
I want to follow up on that and now think about, okay, well, guys, like that's great, but like I'm not a leader position yet. Like I'm an innovator. I totally vibe with all of this, but what's something I can realistically do? I don't have a responsibility or role like a leader. I still think there's tons of things that Towanna is about to share, that how thinking like a coach and asking a lot of questions still plays power, but please help us, help our
Yeah,
innovators.
so no, that's a wonderful question. Again, if I were sitting, being a previous creator, innovator, being a science and a mathematician, my natural curiosity is to dive deeper, right? So what type of, this is the big thing. If you're not a leader and you're a key contributor, what type of diversity matters, right? And so that means not all diversity is the same when you're a creator. So that means you're looking for, how can you innovate and relate so that your customer is understood and it translates through the creativity and innovation, right? So your customer demographic and your ability to connect what service and or products is coming through, that's really where you are. So you're looking at the data, you're looking at the demographic, and you want to say, how is this allowing me as a key contributor? How is this creativity allowing me to connect with my key customer, my future customer, right? So as you prepare your briefings and your product lines, you're thinking about the customer of the desired state, not of the current state.
So I think tying to that again, it's always still keeping about the want and the need, but remembering that you don't have to be in a quote, quote, leadership role to be thinking about that. You should be answering that question constantly. And, it ties beautifully even to our other conversation in the supply chain. We talked about we're all consumers who have purchasing power. And I think that goes back to, as an individual, we all have the power to influence whatever that decision making is. It's just that sometimes it feels more visible than others. I want to add a little note again, to acknowledge that, frankly, with the current situation with COVID-19, we have also, unfortunately, over 22 million people who are now not in jobs. And so I still want to give them questions where they can be empowered, because I think thinking like a coach helps them in every situations. What's a question that you think individuals who's like, well, I don't know right now what to start with and where they are, how they can still be innovative, and how thinking like a coach could empower them?
Yeah, sitting here thinking about that, the first things that come top of mind, and we say this again in our classrooms, is when you consider your current state, whether you're in transition, you've been furloughed, or you've decided to take the package and you're leaving. There are two types of people, and I did a recent conversation about this on a different interview about you're leading in crisis, or you are literally launching a company in crisis. So there are two types of people. So I'm in it or I'm leaving it, right? So for those two case studies, those who are leading in crisis fall into the category of everything we've already discussed, right? My needs versus wants, where the gaps are, what's the analytics say, how can I fix this so we can be on winners on the other side? For those who are launching in the middle of a crisis or trying to do something different, reinvent themselves, recreate themselves so they can find the next opportunity, there are several things that you can ask yourself. One, what current skills and resources do I currently have that I can leverage right now without having to go back to school, without having to do anything new? What do I currently have access to that can position me for my next opportunity? So that's the first question. So you want to look for digging deeper, being more accountable to yourself, being more self-aware, and building that sense of awareness, and again, building that confidence so you can answer that question. Because a lot of times we gloss over the details of that question about who I can contact, because we don't want to ask for help, who, is available to us, and in this season, it's not a season to be shy. When you're really looking to reinvent yourself, you must go for it, right? You need to put yourself in position. So what resources do you currently have that you can access? So we call it low-hanging fruit, right? Now, the second person would say, I have everything. I want to do something different. I want to be bolder. So we call those the stretch goals. What is it that you want to do? Okay. And now you must reverse engineer and decide how much additional education, what certifications, do you need to go back to school? Maybe you just need to do some online studying, because there's so much online these days, right? So you can study up and prepare. So if it's a new industry, a new awareness, those are what we call stretch goals. It may take you 3 to 6 months, maybe longer, to obtain the skill so that you can survive after the crisis or reinvent yourself in crisis.
Like I said, so many nuggets of wisdom. As I wrote again, I love that you broke it down, because I think I would say for those who are still processing and newer to coach, which actually I feel like as somebody who works in Asia and States, is that I'm learning constantly that in Asia, for instance, or in other countries, coaching concept is still newer, even though it has existed around the world for many history. And so what I hope you're hearing as another learning point based on what Tawanna is sharing is that coaching skill is also all about breaking things down, because you have to ask questions to break things apart to where you can start with. And so what I hope you heard from what Tawanna as an example was saying, you have to start with knowing what you can do to even define what you can offer. Don't being shy. I love that phrase, this is not the season to be shy. And you sharing that, then you can define and decide, is it that I need more schooling, or is it that I actually want to take this online course? Is it that I need to actually join this Zumba class? Maybe I want to exercise and I've been like sitting all day. Then it becomes easier. And that totally relates to a conversation I have with a lot of people right now with calling the eye of curiosity. And what I share is that there's 3 pillars. And the first pillar is all about self-care. If you don't know your creativity, if you don't know how you're happy, what makes you upset, it's going to be so much harder. And if we're but we're tempted to like problem solve, we're like jumping and like, oh, let me help you, let me do this, without knowing where we actually are. And that's why results are broken apart, and connected to that. Is there anything else that you want to add, feel like?
No, I love that. I absolutely love that when you talk about what breaks apart, right? And so again, when we are problem solvers, and especially this is a big hint for problem solvers who are watching, because we tend to want to fix everyone else, but we do pay less attention on what we need to fix about ourselves. And so because I am a problem solver, trained to be a problem solver, right? That was one of the hardest things I had to embrace about myself. One, I know that is true. I'm a problem solver, but now I must be gracious with myself, because I need to unlearn how I focus everything on everyone else and less about myself. So that's where coaching and self-awareness increase substantially, because I can say to myself, as I am so drawn to helping people solve problems, what type of problems am I constantly helping them solve? Typically, they're problems that I need to solve myself, or problems that I have left undone, right? So I'm doing pieces of it, but I haven't completely solved it for myself. So I'm rewarding myself by helping someone else problem solve. I feel good when someone else completes the goal, but I'm still undone. So you're right, Monica. It's so important for us to consider, let you be your first client, right? Because in order for us to navigate through this season, we must, one, be bold. We must not be shy, right? And we must consider, what is it that I still have to fix that's not complete, right? And that's not a criticism. That's extremely helpful, because in a competitive marketplace, right, the most important thing is to analyze the gap. Like, I can't compete because there's a gap. I can't do more because I need to fill this part up, right? So do that. And there's nothing wrong with analyzing where the gaps are in your life.
And this ties perfectly to everything we've continued to talk every week, which is all about the mindset, which is why we're doing this show in the first place, to debunk what it means to be creative, to really show that, creativity, yes, which is beautiful art, which I love as well. That's the piece I've done. But it's so much more than that. And what I hope you're hearing from our conversation right now is creativity, as well as coaching, is learning how to reframe your thinking so that you know how to ask the questions, recognize that, I realize that I haven't done my self-reflection. That's why I'm feeling stressed out. I should go do that. Like, you need to have that self-awareness to even be aware of that. It's like as if you were like, I wonder why I'm tired. Oh, well, because I slept late yesterday. That becomes less stressful than us like, I wonder why I'm tired. I don't know why I'm tired. I'm tired. And then you unconsciously let that impact where you're going instead of doing that. To tie this all together, Towanna, I think as we wrap up, I want to hear your final thoughts. For somebody out there who's like, okay, this is so great, and like I want to start learning, like, what's a great starting point for anyone wherever they are in their life to take coaching skill, something that they can walk away with? What's 101 that they can start with right now?
Yeah. So one thing that because there's a lot of quiet time. A lot of us are in a quiet season in our lives. And so I've really enjoyed, being able to ask myself this question again and again, which is, one, coaches are the types of people who love to see things happen, like change things. We want to fix things, change things that we care about. We want to see people win. We want to see them improve. We want to see progress. So coaches are addicted to that, right? So the one thing that I would say, that if you're the type of person who is naturally curious or wanting to see a difference of any type in being able to affect change in any way, the one thing you can ask yourself is, what is it that you are most often drawn to fix and to serve, right? Who is it that you are typically loving or entertained by serving and or naturally curious to working with, so that you can consider how you are going to be a catalyst in helping them create some type of reaction for change. That's what coaching is about. So to care deeply about something, or to be so curious about it that you want to see more people winning and creating and being innovative, the one thing you can do is start for yourself and say, what am I drawn to? What is it that really makes me, spark?
Love that, which is really going back to that self-awareness again and questioning. And tying that beautifully again to one of our favorite C words, curiosity, which we've been speaking a lot about. I really got a reflection moment where I was on the telephone and I realized, you know what, there's actually a lot of great C words. There's creativity, curiosity, coaching, connecting, cultivating. I loved your insight, as well as catalyst. And I think we forget about that. So thank you so much for all these gem insights. I do want to do a quick shout out though. I know for those who are by chance like, oh my gosh, now I want to learn how to hone, like, what's the best way they can reach out to you about some of your training offerings? Because I know they're still available.
Yeah, we do. People can find us on social media at CoachDiversity, on all social media platforms at CoachDiversity. And our website is CoachDiversity.com. And they can see all the upcoming trainings that we have for 2020. And our courses set out so fast. So I'm so excited the fact that we're nearing the end of the year and having to be introduced to all our new students. And so I'm really happy about that.
And I can only imagine it's a reflection of the need, but also how great Towanna is in her team and really being thoughtful. Because one thing that we probably didn't hint upon, which I hope you still caught it, is how just because somebody says they're a coach doesn't also mean they're all equal coaches. Just like somebody says they're a leader, they're not all equal leaders or innovators. And so I hope one of the things you heard from our conversation is there's a lot of back end work when for a great coach to be a great coach. And the reason why my respect for Towanna and the work she does beyond the work and just as a person is how much dedication is that you can see in the thinking she puts behind that. So is there any other hints for somebody who's like, well, if I can't work with you, Towanna, like what's another way I can identify if somebody's a good coach? Do you have any hints on that perhaps by chance?
If someone is looking to hire a coach, and what
Like,
they're looking for,
how do I know if somebody's a good coach versus who's just a talker? Because there's a lot of talkers out there as well, just like leaders or innovators who say they do things, but
no, you're right. And I can tell you, for those who are watching and they're followers of Monica, Monica is a perfect example of a great coach. Naturally curious, educated, and have received formal training. And they have great energy, because the last thing you want to do is work with someone who's like boring and have no excitement, because that's going to be very miserable. So it's important that while you're building and reconstructing your life, or having some new goal or target you want to face, you want somebody that can co-create with excitement, enthusiasm, and really be behind you, not in a corny way, right? But just being smart with you. That's what you're looking for. So I would look at Monica and say, that's a good coach, because that's true.
thank you. I really appreciate it. And that's kind of the reflection of why I love Tawanna's energy as well, because her genuineness of wanting all of you to be empowered through this conversation is right there. And so I want to wrap up with a wonderful quote. I might have said this before, but I think it's just so timely right now, from Emily Dickinson. And it says, I dwell in possibility, which I think is so true, and Henry Matisse, which is creativity takes courage. Because let's be honest, all of this and thinking differently, thinking creatively, innovatively, curiosity takes a lot of courage. So let's start with that first C, knowing that it's going to take a courage for you to be curious, for you to be a catalyst, and whatever that form is. I hope this has empowered you in rethinking through. So Towanna, thank you so much for being here. We're super glad you could be part, and thank you all for joining. I'll be back again next week. And in May, I'm actually excited that in the second week, well, next week, I'm going to have a special guest. We're talking about entrepreneurship and how we think about that with science. But after that, with May kickstarting, we're going to have some special guests to celebrate Asian American Pacific Island Month, mental health awareness, which I'm sure Towanna also cares a lot about, as well as also just graduation season. So got a few fun things coming up, so stay tuned. But for now, thank you so much, Towanna, and we look forward to seeing you soon again. So
You're welcome. Bye-bye.